So let's take a look at the things that I think are superior on high resolution MIDI. The first thing we're going to start with is the digital pitch versus, I think this is still a digital pitch fader, but for all intents and purposes, let's call this a analog pitch, even though it is technically digital. First thing you'll notice, record is stopped. I'm moving this up and down. BPM remains unchanged. I have to have the track started in order for the BPMs to register and the pitch fader to register. Now on the Rain 12, platter stopped. You'll notice that is the pitch fader, and the BPM itself also moves. That's because this is a controller, and this pitch technically isn't controlling the speed of the turntable. What it's actually doing is telling Serato to change the pitch according to it, and then Serato tells this turntable to move a certain speed. That means I can load up a track with the record not moving, find the exact point of it, and then start beat matching. I like that. I really kind of prefer that these days. Just, load up a track and load it up, pitch it, and then I can do whatever I want. I can turn on Scratch Bank and scratch, and then when I go back to the track, it's good. I don't know. It's just something that I've gotten used to. The other thing with the pitch is that with pitch lock off, you can really hear it. You kind of hear how it's going like you're. It's not very noticeable, especially because this is on high torque, and I usually have pitch lock on. You probably won't hear it at all with pitch lock on, but on the Rain 12 with pitch lock off, it's a little bit faster. It's a little bit more instantaneous. I like that. I'm kind of over that kind of catch-up feel on turntables, especially on my Tech 12s, which is a little bit lower torque than these Cross 12s. So when I move up, I can, I have to wait a bit for the record to catch up. Whereas on this, I can just kind of move it around and lock in the BPM, and it's good. The next thing that I like is really just 2 decimal places, BPM, 1 decimal place. So for whatever reason, on Serato Timecode, they only output a single decimal place, and you get a little bit more precision with the 2 decimal places. I get it. You're supposed to DJ with your ears and not your eyes, but it's just something I've gotten used to, which is better on the high resolution MIDI. Now, the third thing I prefer about high resolution MIDI and the controller style versus timecode is with pitch and time on. Now, pitch and time is Serato's high quality pitch lock that you do have to purchase, and it can handle some really extreme tempo pitches with, I wouldn't say no artifacts, but with way less artifacts than their stock pitch lock. For instance, I take this 125 BPM track and pitch it up. Now, when you slow it down, you can sort of hear more artifacts, but it's got nothing on how terrible it sounds without pitch lock. So I love pitch lock. I use pitch lock a lot. I pitch shift. I mess around with pitch play. But one of the minuses of using pitch lock is that when you try to do, say, a record stop with pitch lock on, you hear there's a little bit of a delay, and that's because I have it on the medium breaking time. But it's still, even on the fastest breaking time, you know, it's got you can't really hear that like sound that I love. So this is what I'm talking about. I love doing transitions with that. I love putting an echo on it. That kind of thing. So that's something that you kind of lose out with pitch and time, and you can't really turn it off and then stop the record, especially if you're like pitched differently. You can hear the pitch go kind of thing. But on high resolution MIDI, with pitch lock on, no problem. And that's because this is also a MIDI controller, and it tells Serato, hey, I'm stopping the record. And then Serato can be like, hey, he's stopping the record. Let's turn off pitch lock. And you can go into the preferences and adjust the stop time as well. Or go really slow. And of course, the other thing that you just cannot do with pitch and time on there it is. You just can't do a wind down. Whereas on the Rain 12, and that, again, that's the same thing. This sends a MIDI signal to Serato and says, hey, we're winding down now, so make sure you turn off pitch lock. So that is reason number 3 that I think high resolution MIDI is better. Reason number 4. Now, it's similar to the pitch not working when the record's stopped. Another thing that doesn't work when the record is stopped is cue points. You'll notice that the record has to be running for the cue point to work. That's actually the main reason that Serato introduced silent cue, was to allow you to start a track from silence to pressing the button and starting. This is not my S7, and I actually don't know if silent cue is on the S7, but it does have gated cue, which is, it's muted, and then it plays when I press, and then it stops when I stop. Gives you that kind of finger drumming stuff, and then if you want it to play, you can press and hold, and then flip to a different mode, and it continues to play. So that's sort of a makeup for it, but on a controller, I don't need any of that. Right, and if I want it to play, I can press and hold. It's kind of similar to the cue button or the temp cue button on CDJs, where you press it starts the track, you let go, it stops the track. Press it, starts the track, press start, and it goes. And the last reason I like high resolution MIDI more than timecode is the way instant doubles is handled. Now, instant doubles, if you don't know, is a feature in most of DJ software where you can press a button, like the instant double button here, or double click the load button, and it copies the track that's playing on one side to the other side in the exact space in the track that you press the button on. So it gives you a way to kind of make some turntable tricks. For instance, you can get into some strobing. But the main reason that I really like instant doubles is I tend to play with a single turntable a lot because I am stubborn and I still like the full size setup at my gigs. And some of them don't really require two turntables. Most of them honestly don't require two turntables. And these are heavy, so I can just bring one and I can play. And when I'm ready to mix, I'll flip it over. And load up my next track. And then when I'm ready to mix in the next track, I'll instant double again. The problem with instant doubles and timecode is if I start the track on this side, and I'm going to pitch it up. When I hit instant doubles, you'll notice the BPMs are different. So I still have to beat match this side and kind of get it around the same pitch. If these turntables are identical, you can just kind of look and make sure it's in the same percentile on the readout. But unfortunately, they're different, so I actually have to use my ears. Oh, no. So now that it's beat matched, I can hit the instant double again. Right? So that's not the worst, but it's just one extra step. Now watch what happens if we go the other direction. We'll start the track on this side, slow it down. Not only does it automatically auto sync, but this is my other thing I like is if the platter is stopped, it starts the platter. So that's just like one last thing to think about. I think for instant doubles, it's just really nice. It's just really nice that when I hit it, it automatically syncs it. Now, I think that Serato could just add this in. Like, there's no reason they can't just say, add an option, say, turn on auto sync on instant doubles on load on timecode. But for whatever reason, they still haven't added it in. You can throw a feature request at Serato. The more you flood them with that, the more likely they are to listen. So that's reason number 5 that I think high resolution or using a controller is superior to timecode. So most of these are minor. I used turntables. I've used turntables timecode with needles. I've used phase for years and years. I can survive without all these little controller tricks on the Rain 12s, but I just like them. I prefer them. That's why I actually prefer playing on my Rain 12s to phase and, even timecode on this. I would actually prefer it. Now, if Pioneer DJ or Alpha Theta or whatever you want to call them added a third option that included high resolution MIDI, oh my God, this would be the greatest turntable ever made. You press a button, you get your vinyl to pass through, digital vinyl, press it again, MIDI. And that would just be incredible. But it probably would have cost some extra money, both in R&D and implementation. And these turntables are expensive enough as is. And I'm sure they did a bunch of market research. They talked to a bunch of DJs. And the grand majority of DJs who are still using turntables, I think, are still very much in the timecode mentality and really prefer the DVS feel because it's closer to playing on vinyl. This has a bit of an uncanny valley feel to it. It's, the pitch is too quick. There's some weird stuff, like, for instance, if you hold the record with the volume up and you press start, it starts a bit and then it stops. That happens with the Rev 7. That happens with the Rain 1. It's just the way that these things are designed that, you have to always remember to have it down, even if you're deciding to hold it down and press a button. But is there something you prefer? Do you prefer MIDI? Do you prefer timecode? Get at me in the comments. All right. Peace.